Hello from the high tunnel. Sorry this video is late. It is Thanksgiving weekend for my family and we smoke the turkey. And you would think that perhaps I have not known about this dinner, even though I have. And last night just kind of got away from me getting the turkey set up and ready and just with all other things going on. So my apologies. I meant to send a text last night with the items coming in the share and I failed to do so. So hopefully you got the text today and this video link. So I'm going to just kind of run through super quick. We've got carrots, broccoli, lettuce, a Napa cabbage. It's Chinese cabbage, whatever you want to call it. Turnips, a greens mix that has a significant amount of arugula in it, but then there's spinach and tatsoi as well. And then a few leeks and pea shoots. So that's what's coming in the share this week. I just wanted to give you literally just a couple of meal ideas. In my opinion, broccoli and carrots are pretty common. And so I don't know that you need anything in terms of like meal ideas for that. But I did want to just sort of mention the turnips. To me kind of look similar to the rutabaga you got, but they're different vegetables. So rutabaga was kind of like if turnips and cabbage had a baby, that would be the root. Turnips are their own beast, even though they're a root vegetable themselves. They have a little bit different flavor. I've read different things online. I don't think that they taste bitter per se, but they taste earthier to me than maybe what the rutabaga does. Supposedly the rutabaga is sweeter. I'm not sure that I picked that up, but I'm not sure, like there is a difference in the flavor. So the biggest thing with the turnips is you don't necessarily have to peel them. The skin on them is pretty thin. You're going to cut the top off, cut the little knobbly root bits off, and then you can do this as like large chunks. And my suggestion would be roasted root vegetables. If you take a couple of your carrots, cut them into larger pieces, either large slices or large rounds, and then cut a similar thickness for the turnips. Put some olive oil, maybe some honey or some other kind of sweetener on them. They're going to be sweet already, like the carrots will help sweeten things up, but you could make it a little bit different. You could do like a brown sugar or something like that. Not a ton, just a little bit. Garlic, maybe some like dried herbs, salt and pepper, and roast them in the oven. That would be a really easy way to do a side dish using those turnips that isn't too complicated and is pretty, I'm going to call it basic, that it's not going to be like too intense on the flavor sides, especially since it's cut with the carrots. I did see something online that was like a curried carrot and turnip soup, and I actually thought like, man, that would actually, it sounds really good to me. We like the butternut squash kind of flavored soup, at least I do. My kids are hit or miss on that. They'll eat it fresh, but usually leftovers, they're like, I don't really like that. So I thought about trying to do something like that, just to have something a little bit different. I'm hit or miss with curry, so I don't know, we'll see. But that's the kind of texture that I imagine it to be, and probably a fairly similar flavor. But there's an option for that as well. If you're interested, let me know and I can send you a link to that. It seemed pretty easy to also accomplish. The biggest thing I'll say is like broccoli this time, you could do something like a roasted broccoli as well. We typically eat a lot of broccoli in our house. We cut it up, put it into salads. We eat it raw on the side. I send it to lunches with my kids. And we used to steam a lot of broccoli, but it would be one of those that I would lose sight of it and it would get way too mushy. So I've kind of gotten away from that. But I like roasted broccoli. This would be another thing you could throw it on there, but I'd probably keep that as a separate meal. The Chinese cabbage, the Napa cabbage, and a few carrots will make what I would consider to be one of my staple meals at home. It is a favorite with my kids. It uses up a lot of vegetables, or it is dense with a lot of vegetables without it feeling like you're just eating a side of carrots. And so I know that we've had some kind of bok choy the last couple of shares, and I've suggested some kind of like Chinese stir fry with them, whether it was with lo mein noodles or like a beef and broccoli kind of style. This is going to be my recommendation, a stir fry that's like a egg and rice. So my cheater version of this is I have used my food processor to cut my carrots up really itty bitty. I'm talking like super micro diced, maybe just diced, but cutting them up very, very small. And so I run them through the food processor. You could use your broccoli in this way too and just like toss it down in there. You could hand chop that if you wanted a little bit bigger pieces. This is where I would use the Chinese cabbage. You're gonna cut the bottom of it off and then cut it lengthwise, hot dog cut down the middle. That's a good way to be able to kind of like see if there's any ratty leaves, because it's in that cabbage head, I can only pull off what's on the outside. I can't really rinse everything in there. And because we don't fully spray everything and really like kill everything, there's probably some buggies or maybe a little bit of dirt in there. So I'd recommend like a little rinse on that. And then if you have a salad spinner, to kind of like shake out as much of that water as possible. With the Chinese cabbage, when you have your hot dog half, I would lay it like flat side down on your cutting board, slice it at least once lengthwise again. You could probably do 3 if you know, like 1, 2, 3, so that you have 3 pieces. And then start to kind of like rough chop. This is going to be your preference on how big you want the pieces to be. The cabbage is going to cook down pretty wilty. And this is a Napa cabbage, and so it has a different texture than like head cabbage. That's that like squeaky kind of really densely packed. It's still packed in there pretty good, but you'll see that the leaves are curly, and so it's got like little pockets in it. It's a lighter cabbage, if you will. So I would use at least half a head of that cabbage in my stir fry. And the way I typically handle this is I use either ground sausage or chicken, depending on what I have. If it's chicken or sausage, you're gonna brown it and kind of cook it first. You can do that into chicken chunks, but ground sausage makes it super easy for me because I brown that in the pan, I take it out and I set it aside. And first things first, start your rice first, because white rice takes like, 20 minutes start to finish. And all of this comes together pretty quickly. So start your rice, throw your carrots through the food processor, get them really small, dice up your cabbage, chop that up to the size that you want it to be, brown your sausage, and at that point you have, can you hear the starlings? They're wild. At that point you have everything like sort of like ready. Your rice is probably finishing up at this point. And so you take your big pan, and I use a lot of butter in this. I'm not afraid of using butter, and so I use like pretty close to a stick down in there. And then I'm gonna take, if you wanna use your leeks in this, that would be a beautiful place for them to be. Toss those in, throw some garlic in, and then I throw my carrots in that. And I let it cook down till they're a little bit soft. And then I take my cabbage and I'm adding that in and just sort of mixing it. And then I'm throwing my sausage back in, adding seasonings where I want it to be added. I don't use a lot of like the sesame, typical like Chinese food kind of like condiments in this cooking part of it. I keep this pretty basic, like onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of Italian seasoning if you want to just add a little bit of something else. So all that stuff is added back in. I drop most of the rice in. This is really like an eyeball kind of recipe depending on how much you've made. And so all of it is pretty much mixed together at this point. The one thing I failed to say is you'll want to crack your eggs in advance too and beat them so that they're ready to rock. It's basically like scrambling eggs. You have your bowl that's prepared. And when all your stuff is in your big stir fry pan, you're going to dump the eggs over the top and then just sort of like mix and cook until the eggs are cooked through. This is something that we eat a ton of. It is good. It makes good leftovers. I put soy sauce on mine and eat it like that. Go easy on the soy sauce. You can always add more. You can't take any out. So this is a crowd pleaser at my house. Sorry, I see some weeds down there that I'm pulling because there's weeds everywhere right now. Anywho, that was a long-winded recipe, but that one is probably my favorite. And because the cabbage is a newer vegetable, I figure that gives you an idea, and that might be a little more of like the complex dinner. It truly doesn't take like a super long amount of time to pull that stir fry together. It does use up you know, a good portion of that cabbage, so you're not left with it. If you have any kind of like bacon or ham and cabbage, if you want to do another dish like that, or if you're going to have like pork chops or something like that, you could just sort of like stir fry, pan fry the other half of that Napa cabbage a little bit down the line later in the week. You're going to have lettuce. There's a couple of heads in there. One is like a baby romaine. The other one is a butterhead lettuce. They're both green this week. The greens mix, throw that in, fancy that salad up, make it taste real good. I think that is everything on my side. It's hard to believe, but it's also exciting, we'll say, that this is week 4. I hope that you have been enjoying the CSA. If you have any questions or need anything from me, please let me know, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.